So today we want to talk about another evolution in education for life. The first couple decades actually we focused on elementary education and helping kids between the ages of like 4 and 12, 13 be able to get the basic tools of maturity, the life skills they needed to be able to succeed. But we didn't have a high school in those days, and the kids would go off to local public high school, and they had good results. They were certainly academically they did well, but we wanted to also work more with their character qualities. One of the things we started noticing was that when the children did reach their teens, there were some changes that started to become apparent that weren't all that healthy. Things like kind of forming little cliques of their own age group, not being able to, not being willing or interested in working with younger kids, but maybe just kind of pretending that they were too mature to work with young people. Not interacting with adults, just basically narrowing their whole lifespan just to a very narrow couple of years of their peers, and losing the chance, not having eye contact was another sign with adults, just kind of ignoring them walking along. So it's actually fairly common in the larger culture, but when you actually look at it, it's a very contractive aspect of life. You're shutting yourself off from big, huge chunks of possibility. So we were faced with that. Okay, how do we work with this? How do we try to help turn this around? So we had the idea to form what started out as a service club. It became the basis of our high school after we figured out what was going on. But we got some of the 12, 13, 14-year-olds, I think that was the original age, to form a service club. And we were going to go on an adventure, a service adventure. The particular one that opened up for us was an orphanage in Mexico, Baja, Mexico, the town of La Paz. And the part of the idea was to not just give it to the kids as here's your treat, but to help them be part of the whole process. So they had to earn money first. So they had to earn approximately about $600 to $900 each in order to finance the trip. This is 1996 or so prices were a little less then. They got their money together, and we went on our trip. We flew down to La Paz, and we spent 2 weeks working and living in a Mexican orphanage. There were 100 children in that orphanage between the ages of, I think the youngest one was about 5 and the oldest were like 19. So there was a lot of people that were completely separated, boys and girls. The boys had their wing, the girls had their wing. They did share meals together, but they had separate tables. And so we just joined in. The boys moved in the boys' dorm, the girls moved in the girls' dorm. And we started doing the things they do there. We would get up, everything started with a bell at 5:30 in the morning, and then everybody got into cleaning. And so everybody's up there sweeping or mopping or scrubbing tables or something. Then there was cooking to be done, clean up after the meals. The Mexican kids then went off to their school, and we stayed and had our classes there on the orphanage campus. We learned lots of interesting things, like we went down there. This is the beginning of electronic gadgetry, and I think it was, I don't know if it was iPods, or it was some kind of device that all of our kids were thinking was very important to be cool and to enjoy life. Well, down there wasn't any. There was no access to those kinds of things. The students, the Mexican students, had very, very little. Everything they owned could fit into a box. It was about maybe a foot wide, maybe about 8 inches deep, and about 8 inches high. They each had their own box. That's where they put their personal stuff. Everything else was communal. The clothes were communal. You threw all your clothes in the laundry, and it got clean, and then you got handed back stuff that fit you, but maybe wasn't the stuff that you put in the beginning. Very simple life. Instead of electronic gadgetry, the kids, the Mexican students, they created games. The boys, had all these games with bottle caps. And they would play games, shooting bottle caps and different kinds of rules. The girls did a lot of group hand clapping games where you just kind of have a rhythm and you have a saying that goes, and they would spend hours doing that. So of course our kids learned all those things. And so we went, like, as I say, we spent 2 weeks there, and then we came home, and that was kind of the test case. Well, how would this kind of experience affect these young teenagers? And it was remarkable. It was the change to see. Parents would comment and says, you know, my daughter's getting up at 6 in the morning. She wants to help cook breakfast, and my son, he wants to clean up. He wants to clean up after dinner. And what did you guys do? And so we eventually shared we had a community gathering where we shared what we'd done. But it was other kinds of changes too, like the kinds of things I mentioned in the beginning. They came back and they were much more willing to work with the younger kids, to just go out and play with them, to do things. They were willing to talk to adults. They were able to engage in meaningful conversations again. And there was just a whole shift of perspective that they'd gone through simply by that 2 weeks of moving out of their comfort zone, being in a situation that really challenged them on lots of different levels. Of course, Spanish is the language down there, so they were struggling with their Spanish. But just the level of existence down there was so radically different from what they had grown up with that when they came back, there was an appreciation. And it makes a lot of sense easily, but we forget that when children grow up, if they only grow up in one environment, that is their world. And they start to just outgrow it usually by about 12 years old. No matter what your environment is, you want something a little bigger. You want to see some contrast. It was the same for the Mexican kids, but having Americans come down and spend 2 weeks in their orphanage changed their lives, probably as much as it changed the lives of my students. So it became the basis for starting Education for Life and applying it to the teenage years, and seeing that for a successful experience, we were going to need to expand horizons, and make the whole focus of the school. How can we make their world bigger? How can we help them see their life in perspective? How can we help them appreciate the kinds of things that are part of their lives? And we'll go into some of those things in another video.